This is Danny Flexon here for SecondsOut. Delighted to be joined by the head of BOXXER, Ben Shalom. Ben, how are you?
I'm very well, Danny. Good to see you. Good to have you here.
Thanks, mate. Happy to be here. Huge fight, Liam Williams going up against Chris Eubank Jr. You've had a lot of shows already in the emerging partnership, burgeoning partnership with Sky. Does this feel like the real kind of big time line in the sand, flag planted?
I think so. Look, I was saying to you earlier, we started 40 days ago. That was our first show. We were left with the task of rebuilding Sky Sports, rebuilding it from the start, building it from literally every fighter left. And so we've had a month of, investing in women's boxing, investing in grassroots boxing, investing in the tournaments, putting on our first fight nights, and that's what we've been focusing on. And to be honest, this does feel like a big moment for us. We said we want to have the biggest British fights on Sky, and that's what we went in and we spoke to Adam about. We wanted to sort of look at the pay-per-view model and see, is this really a pay-per-view? What actually should be a pay-per-view? And we're going to have Josh Taylor with B Cattrall on a co-promotion with Top Rank on the 18th. Obviously, Josh Taylor got injured, and we knew we had to do something pretty special. And this is pretty special, and this is something that we've worked hard to get over the line. We've worked hard to get the fighters to accept, and really looking forward to it.
What were the crucial factors in your decision to make it non-pay-per-view as it turned out?
The climate. Boxing fans are getting a lot of content at the moment. But also, I think we want to give value. I think we're sort of a next generation in terms of, for us, to be honest, it's not all about profits and making money and this and that. At this stage in our promotional sort of career, we just want to give value, and we wanted to put the biggest fights on Sky that we possibly could. As I say, we were meant to have Taylor Cattrall. We've had a lot of fight nights so far. We've had the tournament shows. We've brought in the best international shows we can, whether it was Pacquiao's last fight against Ugas, whether it was a unbelievable display from Shakur Stevenson against Jamel Herring, whether it was this weekend we've got Crawford Porter. I think what we're doing is almost going under the radar, but Sky have never had so much content, whether it's international, whether it's tournaments, whether it's the big fight nights like this. We're just trying to do our work quietly and do what we can for the sport, do what we can for the fighters, and it's culminating in some big nights.
And from a financial, commercial perspective, how do you make something like this work without pay-per-view? Because they're both big names, Eubank certainly, and they're going to want purses that correlate with that.
You need both fighters to understand the benefits of this being for everyone to see. These are the fights that grow the sport. These are the fights that need to be. These are the fights that got me into the sport because I could watch them. And I think that was something that both fighters came round to was, look, for both of these fighters, having a fight like this live on Sky, not behind a paywall, is going to lead to ridiculous viewing figures that's only going to benefit them both. And I think Chris has massive ambitions of being a pay-per-view star. Liam wants to be back in the fold for world titles. They don't want to be stuck behind a paywall. And the moment we got their heads around that and we explained the benefits of it, I think everyone started to act sensibly, and economics made sense, and eventually we got it there. And obviously Sky have always been a big supporter of boxing, especially British boxing, especially big domestic fights, and they've been obviously very collaborative with getting this over the line as well.
What have been the main challenges so far in this new partnership with Sky? What have you, not butted heads, but what have you debated between you so far?
To be honest, we had the same vision as them, which was they've always been in boxing, but I think they felt they lost control of what they were doing maybe the past couple of years through no fault of anyone's. And we came in and we said we want to make boxing more accessible. We want to go again. We want the sport to grow, and that fit what they wanted to do. They're passionate about the sport. They were sort of in a place where they had all the fighters that they'd invested in for 2 years, 3 years, a lot of money, just gone overnight. And so we both had to act sensibly. We both had to look at the landscape and say, right, how can we actually improve the offering? And that's why I said the international broadcasts, the tournaments, the investing in grassroots, the finding the stars of the future, that was what they bought into. So we sort of see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I think people, as I say, we're trying to let the fights do the talking. We're trying to let the fight nights do the talking. People have to understand this is a journey. We're competing against businesses that have been in the game for 30 years, 40 years. These promoters have been doing it since the 80s. we've been doing it 5 minutes. It's a hard enough sport to break into, but we think we're doing it for the right reasons, and people are going to start to see that now. And momentum is coming now. Fighters want to be on Sky. Fighters want to be on the biggest platforms possible. Fighters still have dreams of being pay-per-view stars, and there's no better place to do it than Sky. And we'll just keep doing what we can for the sport.
Now, over time in the relationship between Matchroom and Sky, Eddie Hearn kind of came synonymous with the broadcaster because he was on screen so much. He was often the one doing the post-fight interviews and stuff like that. Your approach seems very different to that. Is that a conscious decision to distinguish yourself from what came before?
I think so. I think Eddie Hearn is a showman, and he's a great presenter, and he's a great promoter. I've built this business from scratch, from nothing, and we are at a different stage of the business, and we have perhaps a different, business model. Al Heyman has a different business model. Bob Arum has a different model. Frank does. Everyone's a great promoter in their own right, and I think our model is we've got the biggest platform. We want the fighters to announce their fights. We want to grow their profiles. We want to focus on them. And we have a lot of talent members, whether it's Malinaji who joined us, Savage Dan who joined us, the big Sky talent team. And I don't feel necessarily the need to be in front of camera every 5 minutes, but that is just a different business model. And for us, we have the power of Sky, and they've got a lot of money, and we're just all doing our thing. And I think I have a big respect for Eddie, I have big respect for Frank, and we just see ourselves as perhaps, as you say, a different way of doing things. Those guys, Matchroom has been promoting boxing since the 80s. They have their way of doing things, as does Frank. We want to present a different way, and we'll see. And we want to let the fight nights do the talking first.
Now, you were up on the top table today, albeit not hosting the press conference. What did you make of Liam Williams' apparent change of approach?
I did find it a bit strange, actually. I was in the Ingle gym a couple of days ago, and he doesn't like Chris. Maybe it's because he's in London, maybe it's because he's in Chris's hometown. He feels like maybe this is a first press conference, so he's just gonna tone it down. Chris was up for it, but I think we'll start to see the needle in the gloves are off, in the fight weeks, in everything leading up. I think maybe Liam just felt like there's a long way to go in this promotional cycle, and he just felt like he wanted to. I don't know. Maybe as I say, maybe it's being in London, but what I do know is he has a genuine dislike for Chris, and that's what makes this so interesting. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Now, I know you guys can't really pick sides. Is there an element of for Sky, and less so for BOXXER, but maybe for Wasserman as well, it'd be better if Chris Eubank Jr. triumphs on December the 11th because he is the bigger name, there is more maybe marquee value in his name?
Yeah, there's been a lot of investment that's gone into Chris. I think there's no secret about that. We believe in his pay-per-view ability. We believe in his talent. We believe now he's found something with Roy Jones Jr. that he never had. I mean, a lot of people don't actually think he ever lost that Billy Joe fight. He was slow to start. He just got beat, and then obviously the George Groves. He didn't really have anyone in his corner, and he went out all guns blazing and lost against a world-class operator. I think now his confidence is at a different level. He has a trainer that he respects. I think he always needed someone that had been there and done it. I think for Chris, that's unfortunately what he needed in his corner, and so. I think we're going to see a different Chris Eubank Jr. and for Wasserman certainly they're going to need Chris to win. I think for us, we want it to be a level playing field. We really like Liam Williams as a fighter. We really like Chris Eubank Jr. as a fighter, and for us it's about may the best man win, and whoever wins is going to have a serious amount of opportunities, that's for sure.
Now, before I let you go, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the show you've got to take place this Saturday. Richard Riakporhe, arguably the biggest test of his career so far. How excited are you guys about Richard specifically and the upside that comes with him?
The thing with Richard is, I think a lot of people don't know, his first pro fight was at 25, and he'd never had a big amateur career. And he went straight in at the deep end, and he just sort of bulldozed through British level opponents and just got through pure power. He's got to 30 years old. He had a few issues. He's been out of the ring, but now I think he's starting to learn how to become a boxer. He's obviously with Angel Fernandez now, and he's dealt with British level. He wants to look at world level, and this is a big test for him. Duradola's had world title fights. He's been in there with Makabu. It's great for his rankings, and he wants to go on to world titles. So it's a really interesting fight, actually, to see whether Richard can cope at that level, how he sort of handles it. It's going to be more of a boxing match than perhaps he's used to. But also on the rest of the card, we've got Florian returning, which is exciting. We've got the British light heavyweight title, which no one seems to be able to call, between Hosea Burton and Dan Aziz. And then we also got the debuts of Adam Azim. We've got a big heavyweight clash between Nick Campbell and Danny Whitaker as well. It's a stacked card, and hopefully Tasha Jonas, who we just signed last week, will be on the card as well. So it's exciting. It's a big moment for us. The nights are coming thick and fast, and it's looking good for us ahead of next year.
It's kind of ironic that Jonas's last fight fell through at last minute. Now she's being added to a card at the last minute. I don't want to end on a downbeat note, but obviously Caroline Dubois was scheduled to make her debut on the show. She's ill, I believe, so do you know when that's going to be now?
Yeah, so Caroline was part of our, when we first came in, it was like, how we believe in women's boxing, Sky believe in women's boxing. We signed Savannah very quickly. We signed Clarissa Shields, who's on this December 11th show, very, very quickly thereafter. Tasha Jonas has come across, and we looked at Caroline and we thought, that, you know, with Shane McGuigan, that's the future of the sport. This girl is special. I don't know if you've met her. I don't know if you've been in her presence, but she is a serious talent. She's a serious personality. And unfortunately, she's ill for this show. She was ill from last week. We had her in training last week, and she just didn't feel right. She'll be back out in February, realistically now. But it gives an opportunity for Tasha to come on the card. Caroline's got a long career ahead of her. We're excited to have her, and I really think we're looking at the future face of the women's sport. Without
naming names, how many fighters or you know, a rough number are out there that you haven't yet signed that you would like to, or that were in the original plans?
Sky wants to focus on select boxers, so does BOXXER. We want to focus on stars that we think can become superstars. We don't want to have a stable of 45, 50 boxers. We want to be able to deliver for our fighters. We want to turn them into the best they can be, the biggest they can be. I think there's obviously fighters out there we'd like to sign. Some people have contractual situations that they have to wait out. Some fighters are just deciding what they're going to do after the Olympics. We're really, really pleased with the amount of fighters that now want to be on Sky, and I think we're starting to see the momentum now. And every show we do, it gets easier. Every signing we do, it gets easier. I think we're in a really good spot. I think our stable's pretty strong. We've done it in a few weeks, and there's a few more we'd like to sign ahead of January. I think you're going to see some big announcements over the next couple of weeks. And then we're into next year, and as I say, it's an easy job in a way. Fighters want to be on the biggest platform possible. They want to have the biggest test possible, and they want to earn the most money they possibly can. And you've got to be famous, unfortunately, in boxing to earn the big money, and that's what we think we can provide.
What's the evolution been like for you personally? As you said, you built BOXXER from scratch, tournament-based concept at first. That's now part of a package with more traditional shows. Big backing of Sky Sports now. It's kind of a roller coaster, although mainly going up. How's it been for you? How have things changed?
Yeah, I think we knew that we had the infrastructure and we had the wherewithal to be able to really compete at the highest level, but you have to wait for the broadcasters to open up. We knew 18 months ago Sky was going to open up, and we knew we were well positioned to take it on. Boxing's full of politics. It's full of, you've got to accept, you know, we might have the best vision in the world for the sport and care about the sport, but we have to play the game. And we knew if people knew who we were, perhaps we wouldn't have got that deal. Perhaps we would have been blocked off here. You know, as I say, it's the same promoter that's been in the sport since the 80s. That shows, whether it's in the US with Aram and Heyman or over here, it's a very hard sport to break into. But we have a dream, we have a vision for the sport. Sky have bought into it. Previously we were with BT and Five Spike and doing tournaments, but now we're backed with a proper budget, and we're backed with a proper broadcaster, and it's an exciting time for us. And yeah, it's been a journey. We're still very young, but we know enough now that we're going to seriously compete next year, and it's an exciting time for British boxing in general, because I think every broadcaster is right behind boxing right now.
That's the we, but what about you personally? How has your life changed?
I mean, I've worked in boxing since 23 years old. I've done every single job that you can imagine, from setting up a press conference to booking in an Eastern European opponent last minute, or to putting out the seats. So my life's not changed too much. I've always been involved in the craziness that is boxing since I was young, but obviously now we're putting on major shows and we're in the big leagues, and yeah, for me it's a dream come true. If I'm honest, it's an absolute dream. I always thought that I would get here. We're now here, and now it's about, we're happy to be here, but we want to do something serious in the sport. We do want to compete, and so as much as it's amazing for me personally, we're serious about what we can do in the sport, and we really believe in what we can do, and so we'll see.
Brilliant. Ben Shalom, really appreciate your time.